In the quiet town of Oak Ridge, Oregon, peace and harmony reigned. Each house had a white picket fence, and children played in the streets until dusk. This town, with its undeniable charm, attracted tourists from across the country. But Oak Ridge had a secret, a dark, sinister legend that the townspeople rarely spoke of. According to the legend, the woods surrounding Oak Ridge were once inhabited by a group of gnomes. These were not the friendly, garden-variety gnomes you might imagine. These gnomes were wicked, malevolent creatures, banished from their homeland for their dark deeds. They thrived on chaos and had a penchant for murder. Over the years, the legend faded, becoming nothing more than a spooky tale told around campfires. However, strange things began to happen. Animals went missing, and eerie noises echoed through the woods at night. Most dismissed these occurrences as the work of wild animals or overactive imaginations. But a few, especially the elderly, remembered the old stories and whispered amongst themselves that the gnomes had returned. Jenny Lawson, a recent college graduate, moved to Oak Ridge to start her career as a teacher. She loved the tranquility and the close-knit community. Her house, a charming cottage on the edge of town, backed up to the woods. She found solace in the serene environment and often took walks along the forest trails. One evening, as Jenny strolled deeper into the woods, she stumbled upon an old, moss-covered stone circle. Intrigued, she decided to explore further, unaware of the danger lurking around her. The sun was setting, casting long shadows that danced eerily among the trees. She felt a chill run down her spine and decided to head back home. As she turned, she thought she saw a pair of glowing eyes watching her from the underbrush. But when she blinked, they were gone. A week later, Oak Ridge was rocked by the disappearance of Mark Peterson, a local handyman. He had been last seen heading into the woods to gather firewood but never returned. Search parties scoured the forest, but all they found were his axe and a few bloodstains on the leaves. Jenny couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. She began to research the town's history and came across the legend of the gnomes. The more she read, the more convinced she became that the disappearances were linked to these malevolent creatures. Determined to uncover the truth, Jenny confided in her friend, Kyle Davis. Kyle was a skeptic but agreed to help Jenny investigate. They spent hours in the town library, poring over old records and talking to the older residents. One name kept appearing in their research: Old Man Harrison, the town's historian, who lived in a secluded cabin on the outskirts of the woods. They decided to visit him. Harrison, a reclusive and eccentric man, welcomed them with surprising warmth. He confirmed the legends and revealed that his ancestors had been the ones to banish the gnomes centuries ago. He warned them to stay away from the woods, explaining that the gnomes were not just myth but very real and very dangerous. Undeterred, Jenny and Kyle ventured into the woods the next day, armed with flashlights and a sense of purpose. They followed the path Jenny had taken the previous week and soon found themselves at the stone circle. As they examined the stones, they noticed strange carvings, runes that Harrison had described as wards against the gnomes. Suddenly, the ground beneath them shifted, revealing a hidden entrance. Against their better judgment, they descended into the dark, musty tunnel. It led to a large underground chamber, lit by flickering torches. The walls were adorned with ancient symbols, and in the center stood a large stone altar. Before they could react, they were surrounded. Small, twisted figures with sharp teeth and glowing eyes emerged from the shadows. These were the gnomes, and they were every bit as terrifying as the legends described. The gnomes advanced, brandishing crude weapons and chattering in a guttural language. Jenny and Kyle backed against the wall, their flashlights illuminating the gnomes' grotesque features. Just as it seemed they were doomed, a loud noise echoed through the chamber. Old Man Harrison had followed them and now stood at the entrance, holding a large, ancient book. He began to chant in a language neither Jenny nor Kyle understood. The gnomes shrieked and covered their ears, retreating from Harrison's words. He continued the incantation, and the runes on the walls began to glow. The gnomes writhed in pain, their bodies twisting and contorting. With a final, ear-piercing scream, they vanished into thin air, leaving behind only a foul stench. Harrison explained that the book contained the original banishment spell used by his ancestors. He had hoped never to use it again, but with the gnomes' resurgence, he had no choice. The stone circle, he said, was a portal that allowed the gnomes to enter this world, and it had to be sealed once and for all. Jenny and Kyle helped Harrison gather materials for the ritual to seal the portal. They worked through the night, placing protective wards around the stone circle and chanting incantations. As dawn broke, a bright light enveloped the stones, and the ground trembled. The portal was closed, and the gnomes were banished forever. Life in Oak Ridge slowly returned to normal. The townspeople never learned the full truth about the gnomes, but the disappearances stopped, and the eerie noises in the woods ceased. Jenny and Kyle became local heroes, though they kept the details of their adventure to themselves. Old Man Harrison passed away a few months later, leaving the ancient book to Jenny. She continued to teach and eventually wrote a novel about her experiences, blending fact and fiction into a chilling tale that became a bestseller. Though the gnomes were gone, Jenny couldn't shake the feeling that the town needed protection. She formed a small group of trusted friends, including Kyle, to keep watch over the woods and ensure the portal remained sealed. They became the guardians of Oak Ridge, dedicated to preserving the town's peace and protecting it from any future threats. And so, the legend of the gnomes faded into obscurity once more, a dark chapter in the history of a town that thrived on peace and tranquility. But the guardians remained vigilant, ever watchful for signs that the evil lurking in the woods might one day return. Years passed, and Oak Ridge continued to prosper. Jenny grew older, eventually passing the mantle of leadership to a new generation of guardians. One summer evening, as the sun set over the tranquil town, a young boy playing near the edge of the woods found a small, curious stone. He picked it up and turned it over in his hands, unaware of the faint glow emanating from the runes etched into its surface. The legend of the gnomes was far from over.